Hey, welcome back, everybody. Once again, this is Marc Lawrence, and we're all set to go against the spread on this weekend's college football and NFL cards. And as we wind down into the second half of the NFL football season and getting closer and closer to the college football playoff pairings, that's exactly what we're going to talk about on this show here today. And with that, let me introduce our cast of experts, our panel extraordinaire from Las Vegas, the legendary Jim Feist. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing just terrific. Thank you for asking. Doing real well. Thank you. Andy Iskoe, also from Las Vegas. How's things going for you these days?
Things are going very well, Mark, as apparently they are for you, which is good news for all of us. And I'm looking forward to another good week of football. We had some more carnage last week in the Survivor contest. The Circa, I can mention they are down to exactly, of the 18,718 that signed up there, exactly 1,000 entries remaining. Perhaps even more shocking for the second week in a row. And there were no people who failed to submit picks. After the first 9 weeks, had a total of 94 people, I believe, or first 8 weeks, 94 people missing picks. So those contests and the Circa Grandissimo down, I think, down to 6, and the Supergate, Westgate Super Survivor is down to 8. So those those two contests figure to end possibly by Thanksgiving.
Andy, before I turn things over to Greg, I got to say this. I came across the bloodletting that happened in the Circa contest last week, and it was surprising to me that the number one team that threw most of the people out were the Carolina Panthers. Are you kidding me? The Carolina Panthers in a survivor pool? Ugh.
Yeah. Well, that was against the New Orleans Saints. They had won 2 in a row. They were coming off that upset of Green Bay, so I think a lot of people put a little too much. But I don't know that, if I rank teams A, B, and C, and I think I have Carolina as a marginal B team. So you're still asking a mediocre team to beat another mediocre team, because this is a good concept to discuss. Because we take a look at, you're asking a bad team like Carolina to not only win, but win by a margin. They're playing another bad team in New Orleans who has to be looking at this as one of the games that they can win. So it's not like they're going up against a disinterested team. They're going up against a team that, hey, we can't beat any of the big or middle guys, but we can beat a Carolina. And that happens a lot.
And
don't ask a bad team to do something good for you.
No, you never do. In fact, I got to say this. Adam Lastman, one of our viewers, dropped a comment in here. And he's like you, Greg, a big New York Jets fan. And he's so much of a Jets fan, he says the Jets are going to knock off the Patriots tonight.
He's delusional.
You're not that much of a Jets
fan?
I
will tell you that of the remaining clients who are alive in any of the Survivor contests for which I proxy, they're all on New England tonight.
As well they should be.
Yeah. Well, the contest you're proxying is one, and you can only use the team one time, correct?
Yeah, no, that's all three of them. The Super Survivor at Westgate, that's the $5,000 entry fee, the $1,000 entry fee at Circa, and the one that I'm not proxying anyone for is the Grandissimo with the $100,000 proxy. No, I wish it was $100,000 proxy. The $100,000 entry fee.
Oh, interesting.
But the two Circa contests.
How many are left in the Grandissimo?
I believe it's 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
6 out of how many entries, Andy?
69 entries. They're playing for $6.9 million. Now, in the Westgate Super Survivor, they were down to, I think it was 16 last week out of 111 that started. That's the $5,000 entry fee. There are now 8 remaining because 8 people were eliminated, 4 on the Bills against Miami and 4 on the Panthers against the Saints last week. I will say, because I also proxy for, the Pick 5 contest, the Circa Millions on the Westgate, and I don't necessarily follow anything what the people do, what my clients do, just out of curiosity. I'll take a look at a couple of them. I do note that a lot of people, and I was surprised by the number, who played the game were on the Saints plus the points last week against Carolina.
When they were on the Saints, right? Wow.
Yeah. I had no involvement in that game, but I was surprised.
That's one of those things where you can't bet on a team that's always an underdog when they're laying points because they just don't know how to do it.
And especially over a field goal.
I read somewhere, and in fact, I think I double-checked this in my database, that the last 11 times Carolina had laid points, they lost all 11 games outright. Outright.
Well, Yeah, outright. Yeah, because I do know they were favored against the Jets this year, and they did win that game. I think that was a 13-6 game. But yeah, losing outright, I can understand that. In fact, I think I pointed out when I wrote up the Jets Carolina game was that the last time previous to that game, they were favored. I think it was either last year or late in 2023 when they were favored at home by the Dallas. They were favored at home over the Dallas Cowboys and lost outright.
Well,
Greg
I'll
DePalma.
give you a playbook special. You're about to introduce me anyway, Mark.
I'm going to introduce you with that playbook special. Please take the.
Yeah, of course. In the Playbook magazine last week, it noted that Carolina went into the New Orleans game 0-13 against the spread when it took on a losing team in a revenge situation off of a double-digit straight-up loss. 0-14 now after the loss to the Saints.
Well, it sounds like we're piling on the Panthers when we were obviously truly piling on against the Jets most of the football season.
That's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah,
that's what that's what we all got started. Well, let's pile on the NFL because Jim mentioned several times on different shows last week how awful the league is and how bad it is to watch, and he's exactly 100% correct. I'm sure you guys have probably heard this, maybe not, but I heard it I think just yesterday on an unrelated show that they just wanted to point out to everybody that last week in week 10 in the NFL, it began on prime time on Thursday with a 10-7 result, and week 10 in the NFL ended on prime time with a 10-7 result.
Wow.
If that
not only that, you had two games on Sunday, 44-22. I think those are only the second and third times that happened. So it's not what they call a scorigami, because I think someone said it happened like in 1967. But to have, multiple scores of 27-24, not that unusual, but multiple scores of 44-22, considerably unusual, unprecedented actually for two of them. And then of course the start and the end, I think, is makes you really wonder about the state of the universe.
Well, just as importantly, I want to welcome our viewers for tuning into the show. You're a big part of our production and what we do here. And don't forget, do us that big favor and hit that subscribe button, the like button as well. And while you're at it, ring the bell. And I've got big news for all of our listeners out there. You asked for it, and we're delivering. ProLine TV is now offering premium and executive plays from our cast of experts right here on the show. Simply go to the ProLine TV channel, click on the join button, where you'll find Jim Feist and myself, along with bundle perks and picks from our team of experts. And while you're there, visit the community page. Check out the ProLine TV channel for all of your winning selections from Jim Feist, myself, and our cast of experts. You're going to be glad you did. You're going to really like what you see. Check it out on the community page.
Yes, Mark. And right now, I already have 3 college and three NFL plays up there on that link. I don't know how many you have up yet, or if you have any up yet.
I don't have any up there yet, Jim. I will have some up by the weekend, but I'm glad to see that you are tending to business, and I'm sure people will be anxious to see exactly. And I'll tell you what, guys, the cost of this stuff is like ridiculously low, just ridiculously low.
Oh
You almost
God,
laugh.
yes.
Yeah, you almost laugh when you see how low these prices are. But check it all out. It's ProLine TV, and check out, if you will, all those perks, selections from Jim Feist, myself, and our team of experts. On the community page, you'll see exactly all of what's going on there. You're going to really like what you see. So with that, let's get into our first segment of the show, the National Football League this particular week. And before we do, I want to do my usual, I'm just saying, spew if I can. And I just wrapped up our midweek alert football newsletter, our statistical newsletter. And I love doing statistical stuff because it really keeps the mind active and sharp. And what did I find? I found that there are 5 teams in the National Football League playing this week that all rank in the top 10 offensively and defensively. Bring some pretty good caliber ammunition to the game. I'll say that's the Detroit Lions, the Kansas City Chiefs, the LA Chargers, New England Patriots, and Seattle Seahawks. All 5 teams playing excellent on both sides of the ball. Once again, the only team that has yet to out-yard an opponent this year, no surprise, the Tennessee Titans. And here's something interesting. There's only 2 teams that have lost or losing the stats by an average of more than 100 yards a game. You don't want to be on a team that you know is probably going to lose the stats by over 100 yards in the football game. If they do just that, you're going to need a miracle from somewhere to help you get that money some way, somehow. Those 2 teams happen to be probably arguably the 2 worst teams in the league. That's Cincinnati and the Titans, both losing the stats by over 100 yards.
Let me tell you, Mark, according to my power ratings, which I was surprised when I did them because they're totally unbiased. They're all mathematically based, use a linear regression type formula that I post up quite a bit. Number 32 is Cincinnati. Number 31 is Tennessee.
There you go, fighting.
And I think the stats you just pointed out it's very hard over the course of 9 or 10 games that they played now to average being either outgaining an opponent or being outgained by an opponent by 100 yards. That takes a lot of excellence to outgain an opponent and a lot of futility to be outgained by that average.
Randy, your numbers are spot on because it's Cincinnati minus 118 net yards a game, Tennessee minus 112 net yards a game. So,
Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned, I think, 5 teams that had a good. What was the first category?
Well, they rank in the top 10 in the overall offense and defense in their yardage for the football season. They rank on both sides, offensively and defensively.
Yeah, there's one team that a lot of people are saying is the best team in the NFL, and that would be the Rams.
Yes.
And I noticed that you didn't mention them.
No, it's because the Rams rank number 11 in the National Football League in team defense, just on the outside looking in.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens this Sunday. After this game, they could be in that top 10. They could push
in fact, they are only 4 yards behind being number 10.
Is that what it is?
Okay.
I've got Atlanta at number 10, 309, and Rams at 313.
There you go. So we'll keep an eye on the Rams. I know that's one of Jim's really, really pet teams that he likes. I don't know what he's doing with this week, but maybe we'll visit with him and see exactly what that's all about. On to the NFL playoff picture, guys. If the NFL playoffs started this week, once again, the number 1 seeds would be the Indianapolis Colts and the Philadelphia Eagles, same as last week. The number 8 seeds just on the outside looking in and missing the playoffs would be, if you can believe it, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. They've got some work to do. They know that. They realize that. And I expect these 2 football teams to end up kicking things in gear. The AFC wildcard round pairings this week would be number 2, Denver, number 7, Jacksonville going head-to-head, number 3, the New England Patriots, number 6, the Buffalo Bills, and number 4, Pittsburgh Steelers against the number 5 Chargers. On the NFC side of things, we'll see the number 2 Seahawks hosting the number 7 Green Bay Packers, who are beginning their slide, the number 3 Detroit Lions against the number 6 Bears, and the number 4 Tampa Bay Bucks against the number 5 Rams. Let me ask you guys, of any of those football teams I mentioned that I didn't mention, who do you think will end up making the playoffs that I did not mention out of those teams that are there right now? Possibly the Chiefs. I'm sure that'd probably be the number 1 answer.
Well, if the Chiefs lose to Denver this week, they're going to be in a little trouble. And I was kind of surprised by the line in this game with Denver. I thought it would be closer to maybe pick or 1 or maybe even 2. I didn't expect to see 4.5.
Yep. I think it's the Andy Reid after a bye game factor that goes back to his days in Philadelphia, and he's coached double-digit seasons in Philadelphia, double-digit seasons in Kansas City. And Mark, you probably have the exact number, or Greg, the exact number of Andy Reid's ATS success after a bye.
It's absolutely the best in the National Football League. It's in our Playbook newsletter. I'll try and look that up while we're on the show.
22-4.
What, 22-4?
Yeah, he was 13-1 with the Eagles, and
what we have here
9-3 with the Chiefs.
What we have here with Denver is how much can we trust Bo Nix? He's been very inconsistent, to say the least.
That's true, and you've got a real experienced quarterback against him in Patrick Mahomes. There's no doubt about who the edge goes to there. Look at the head coaches, Andy Reid and Sean Payton. Who would you give the edge to? I would say probably. I wouldn't even say probably. I would say Andy Reid. So you've got a couple of huge check marks there.
By the way, it's Andy Reid, but not by the margin that he would have over most coaches.
No, well, yeah, Payton deserves to be in the conversation, unquestionably. Yeah, we're just talking for comparative reasons here. But we also had mentioned that how important Jim mentions this game is to Kansas City. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy. If they lose this game, they will be 3.5 games behind Denver. Is that correct? 3.5 games?
It's either 3 or 2.5. Let me check right now because I've got the standings here. And Denver is 8-2, so Denver would be 9-2, And the Chiefs would be 5-5, so that would be 4.
Whoa.
Yeah, 3.5 games back.
How do the Chargers fit into that picture?
Chargers are in between. Chargers are 7-3. They're 1 game behind Denver, and they've already beaten Denver once at L.A.
So
the Chiefs and Denver meet on Christmas Day.
Would they still be outside the top 7 for making the playoffs?
Kansas City?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, they would. Well, let me see. The first team, I think, Mark, you said out of the playoffs
Kansas
would
City
be
on the outside looking in, along
would
with,
be Kansas City. The next team behind Kansas City in the AFC. Well, they'd be 5-5. Houston right now is the second team out of the wild card. They're 4-5, as are the Ravens. So I could certainly, you'd expect Baltimore to be 5-5. Couston might be 5-5 if they win. Kansas City would be 5-5 if they lose.
Most likely, though, the Ravens will probably win their division. So they could be 7-9 and still make it.
If you look at Kansas City, and if they lose to Denver, their path to the playoffs almost certainly would have to be wild card. And there's competition because you get 3 wild cards. So let's assume Denver wins the West. So you have the Chargers and the Chiefs looking for 2 of the wild cards. You've got possibly Houston in the AFC South looking for a wild card, assuming Indianapolis with a nice lead wins that division. You may only get 1 team out of the AFC North contending, Baltimore or Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh might fade a little bit more. Last year, they lost their final 4 games of the regular season before losing the playoffs. And in the East now, Buffalo might be the team that is, realistically, you could have 4 teams without including a second team in the NFC North fighting for the 3 wild cards. So that could be very, very difficult for Kansas City.
Well, like I say, if they lose this football game, I'm sure that's the message Andy Reid's going to get across to them guys. If you don't make this, you're going to have to go out and make up 3.5 games. You'll be on your own.
Denver, by the way, Sean Payton can sell the similar thing, saying, hey, guys, here's an opportunity to open up some distance between us. Not so much at the Chargers, because the Chargers might very well win and remain a game behind if they beat their opponent on Sunday, but they have a chance to distance themselves another game ahead of Kansas City, because on Christmas Day, I believe it is, Kansas City will host Denver. So this is the opportunity to at least ensure a split against the Chiefs.
Well, Jim, let me ask you this question. Because we've got our new ProLine TV experts channel there for people to find out exactly who the best of the selections it is that we like here. Rather than getting into the games, I'll ask you one particular game that might catch your interest the most in the National Football League card this week. What would that be?
Well, there's a lot of games, and there's a lot of very good games. I mean, you could look at the Minnesota game against the Bears. You could look at Seattle against the Rams. You could look at Buffalo against the Bucks. These are all important games. But I'm a point spread or money line player and a totals player. I see a big jump in New York this week. We got a new coach, and you got an off the bench quarterback that can throw the ball to anybody. In Jameis Winston.
A modern day Vinny Testaverde.
He's the only guy that's ever been 30-30.
Yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to that, because he is very capable. I don't know why he's so spastic about what he does with the ball, but he is. The players love him. I think the players are very happy to get rid of Dable.
Are you talking about Mike Kafka, the interim coach, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm talking about Jameis Winston.
Okay.
I am looking forward to seeing Jameis Winston take down the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, yeah, they started off okay, but look at the teams they've lost to. I mean, they lost to the Browns. They tied Dallas. They lost to Carolina. And then, of course, last week, there's no shame in losing the Eagles. But this does not look like a Super Bowl team to me, and it does not look like Jordan Love is a Super Bowl coach. Now, I'm not saying the Giants are.
But Jim, before you continue, take a look at who the Giants did beat this year on this field.
Who?
Chargers and Eagles.
Okay.
There you go. Bring Brian Daboll back. Bring him back.
For this game.
Keep in mind that Packers, not that I want to stick up for Jordan Love because he's not progressing like most Packers fans would want. It's obvious. but he's got a load of injuries at the receiver position right now. He's lost his special tight end for the year. He's got like three starting potential receivers not playing. And so it's not a coincidence that they can't score the last couple of weeks. Still, they've got some capable players like Christian Watson came back. You shouldn't be held to 20 points in 2 games.
And the better defense on the Packers as well.
And and to not come away with
I think it's going to be a fun game, and Jameis is always entertaining. You never know who he's going to complete a pass to. It doesn't matter which team.
Yeah, his team or the other, right?
Yeah, he just loves completing passes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. That's an interesting observation, Jim. In the New York Giants, and see what happens in New York. The Giants fans, I think, like you mentioned, are pleased. They didn't want to continue living in purgatory the way they were. They had to make a change at some point.
Well, I think the main reason was having Dart go back into the game after he suffered the concussion. He went back in for a few plays, and I think that they were jeopardizing the health of a quarterback who ostensibly could be a franchise quarterback in a season where there's no hope of making the playoffs. It's kind of like Washington. I would expect Jaden Daniels. We won't see any more of him this year. Why bring him back if the team is 4-9?
Yeah, where are they going? All he can do is get hurt again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, keep in mind, from what we've heard, this is potentially up to the 4th time Dart has had some sort of concussion symptoms.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. We haven't
for
even
1 year, for half a season.
Yeah. And look, the kid's got mobility. We know that. But that's not why the Giants drafted him. He's not Lamar Jackson. He has to throw the football first, his legs sparingly second. And so somebody has to go into that building and make sure that he understands that before he gets himself even in worse shape, because that's going to be the big reason why that they're going to go out and get themselves a really good head coach, because you know how hard it is for these head coaches when they decide where they want to go. The first thing, like a Jim Harbaugh, he would never have went to the Chargers if Justin Herbert wasn't there. Like, how
about Mike McCarthy?
Why not?
I think he's in the conversation.
I think
especially getting a young quarterback that he can develop.
Yeah. So whoever it is, they got to teach this kid, no more kamikaze acts. That's not what we drafted you for.
Well, somebody's got to teach him how to protect himself. There's no question. I mean, he does look like he can play. And it'd be a shame if he lost his career because he can't protect himself or he refuses to. There's another conversation I've heard a number of times this week. They talk about if Cincinnati wins this game this week, they're in the mix to win that division. Okay, that's possible. I don't think it'll happen. But then they're also talking about maybe Burrow will come back.
Thanksgiving is what they're thinking.
The question comes up, can Burrow do better than Flacco? Flacco put up 450 yards and 350 and 400. I mean, he's done very well connecting with those wide receivers and tight ends and putting up yards and points. No question about that. It's the defense. Burrow doesn't play defense. Now, I don't think that he can really do any better than what Burrow's been doing. Honestly, I don't see why you would replace him.
Given the fact that he's played and started 4 games, here are the stats on Flacco this year. Very, very impressive. Maybe the 65% completion percentage isn't all that great. He does have a 102.6 quarterback rating, largely because 11 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions, less than 2 sacks per game.
How many yards per game in his games?
In his games, he has passed for 313 yards per game.
That's really nice.
With that offense, to only have two interceptions, that's pretty good in 173 pass attempts.
The only thing about Joe Flacco, guys, he's got a little bit of Jameis Winston in him. He likes to put the ball sometimes where it shouldn't be because he wants to thread it and get that ball to the receivers because he knows the receivers are likely going to get their hands on it. And ultimately end up being his undoing are the interceptions. That's what found.
Not this year, though.
No, not this year. That's what I'm saying. Is it a law of averages type thing that'll happen because he's not doing it this year? And kudos to him because he's really, really a good quarterback.
With the offense that the Bengals have, even though their running game isn't all that great, the offense that they have, they can beat almost any opponent with Joe Flacco at quarterback. So why take a risk? It's the defense that's the problem. It's always I think I wrote something here this week about the Bengals allowed in their last 3 games 47, 39, 31 points. They won that first one, 33-31 against Pittsburgh in their first meeting. 3 other games this year, they've allowed 37 and 48. You're not going to win. You could have Johnny Unitas at the prime of his career, and you give up those numbers in 5 games. You're not going to win any of those 5 games in most instances. So I would not risk Burrow. You got to think long term with Burrow. And if unless Flacco really starts to drop off the planet, I would not bring him back unless Burrow is totally healthy. And if that means you wait until mid-December to bring him back and the games actually mean something, why take the risk?
Well, I don't think they're gonna risk it. I think he's gonna come back when he's ready to come back. And if he's ready to come back on Thanksgiving and they check him out, then he's gonna play. I don't, because I think they're smart enough to understand that he's all they got.
Wait. It's the Cincinnati Bengals we're talking about.
Yeah,
smart enough.
Again,
I agree with that, Dan.
But yeah, they're just not gonna throw him in there. If they do, then I don't know what to tell their fans. But look, the other thing to keep in mind is this isn't a video game, and when you have Joe Burrow on your team compared to Joe Flacco, there's a level of confidence that the team has. It's like hockey. You have a goaltender in there that is going to make the stops, even if statistically he may be equal to the other guy. There's just a level of confidence that the team has with a specific player. And look, Joe Flacco ain't going to last much longer anyway. I mean, he played a couple of games and he got hurt already. So his time is coming. But you said it first, Jim. You started the conversation off with the perfect way. And you said, well, if the Bengals win this week. So that they got to win this week, though, for all of this talk for us to come, for actually to make, because if they don't win, they're not going anywhere. They're not coming back even with Burrow, and it means nothing.
Well, I don't know what Pittsburgh Steelers team shows up. I mean, the one that turned the ball over, had the Colts turn the ball over 5 times, or the one that went out to the Chargers and they couldn't find a first down. They didn't have a first. They didn't convert a third down until Harbaugh decided to let Tomlin score at the end. He didn't want to embarrass him. It was a giving.
Yeah.
By the way, Mark, you have a question on here on the comments directed at you. MDT6 is asking a question. Can you see that?
No, I can't.
He's wondering if Mark can share his thoughts on an old NFL system within San Francisco at Arizona.
Yes.
That's within the San Francisco-Arizona game?
Yes.
Boy, that's
By the way, let me just, before we leave Cincinnati here, they're 3-6. If they lose at Pittsburgh, their next 3 games, Pittsburgh and New England, could lose both, should win it, should lose, might even lose at home to us, and of course, now all of a sudden they're 4-7 or 3-8. Meaning that they basically have to win out the rest of the season to have a chance at a wild card. And they still have to play at Baltimore on Thanksgiving, at Buffalo the following week, a rematch at home against Baltimore, and then they do have 3 winnable games if they're still playing for anything, at Miami, at home to Arizona and Cleveland. So we may be looking at Thanksgiving. This team could be 3-8.
Wow.
And they'd have to win out to have a chance at a wild card, although I think 10-7 is what you need this year.
I don't think they're going into this game with their idea that they're going to lose it. They're going to go and try to win it.
Oh, sure.
That's you and I are analyzing it, and we know that it's not likely.
Every player on every team thinks they're going to win every game, and that's the way they should think.
That's right.
Hey, Jim, in regards to Pittsburgh and who's going to show up for this football team this week, maybe it might be the team that showed up against the Cleveland Browns when they beat Cleveland and out-yarded the only opponent they've out-yarded this year, the Cleveland Browns. They are not a very good football team, Pittsburgh. So fortunately for them, they're not playing a very good football team this week. So
what were you going to say about Arizona, San Francisco? Let's also remember that one.
I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
It says including an 12-0 ATS if the foe is off a straight-up loss. Thoughts on San Francisco -3 this week? He's very specific. I can't answer this question.
Maybe he's reading it from your own Playbook newsletter. Maybe you've got something out there already. That's why he wants to know if you can share that. Do you know if you have anything?
Okay, I know what he's talking about. The worst to first angle. Okay.
Oh.
It's a team that finished worst one year in their division, and then the next year finished first. So what you're looking to do is to fade these teams to go back to the norm and do just that. My question here is, was San Francisco the worst team in their division? I don't have anybody on that list this year. That's the reason it kind of flew over
Well,
my head.
you had the Rams and Seattle. Both. Well, Seattle didn't make the playoffs, but they were 10-7. The Rams, of course, won the division. Arizona was 8-9. I think San Francisco was like 6-11. So San Francisco would have been the. Let's see, they were 6-11. They would have been the worst team by 2 or 3 games last year in the NFC West.
Okay. But were they first the year before, Andy? That's the question.
Yeah, wasn't that the year they lost to Kansas City in the overtime Super Bowl?
I think so. Yeah.
Let me see here. Yeah, they were 14-6, so that would have been they were 12-5 in the regular season.
12-5 for the season. What about the division?
Well, 12-5 would have won that division. I think the only other team to make the playoffs that year was maybe. Well, let's see. The Rams were 10-8, so they were 10-7 because obviously the loss. If they're showing 8 losses, that means they only lost 7 in the regular season because the other loss would have been in the playoffs if they're playing more than 17 games. And Seattle would have been the other team in the division. They were 9-8. So yes, San Francisco was first in the division in 2023. Last in the division last year, and they were last in the division because of all the injuries they had last year.
So what we're doing then is we're playing on San Francisco here this week because they are off a double-digit loss. They're the team that went from first to worst. So they do qualify this particular week as a favorite in that particular football game. Good call out, MD. Good call. That took right past me. I forgot all about San Francisco being that particular qualifying. In fact, I think they're the only qualifying team that did just that in the NFL, worst to first last year.
What was the division? Was it the NFC South for a number of years with Atlanta, Carolina, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay, where worst to first happened like 5 or 6 years in a row?
You mean flip-flopping?
Well, worst to first. Different teams do it. A different team each year, I think, went from worst to first, if I remember. I thought it was about, maybe 8 to 10 years ago that happened for a few years in that division.
Might be interesting.
San Francisco's a good play anyway. I mean, if you look at it, this is not a good spot for Arizona. They're 0-6 against the spread at home when they take on a winning division opponent. 0-1 this year when they lost to Seattle. And then throw in the fact that, as we said last week, talking about Seattle-Arizona game, we outlined the big injuries for Arizona. Well, their leading tackler is not playing again this week. Their starting corners, we no idea if they're going to play. They're still questionable. And they've lost Marvin Harrison for the week. He's their number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
So, and you got a San Francisco team, like you said, Mark, coming off a double-digit loss. This is a division game. They've covered all 3 as a road favorite this year. So, and I think we might actually see Purdy.
And if you recall, when they played in Arizona, it was a 16-15 game that the 49ers won in San Francisco.
Well, we talked a lot this year about Arizona and how the stick-to-itiveness they had, playing all these one-score games and being terribly, terribly close. And then they finally were waxed. And, what you'll see what happens, they got waxed against Seattle, lost by 22 points. And you'll find teams that do have the ability to play close call games and finally get blown out, finally take a step away from playing close football games. So that could well apply to the San Francisco game here as well. So you might be looking at a nice side here, MD, in San Francisco, laying those points. Okay, guys, let's keep the ball rolling here. Andy, I'm going to ask you a question. What thoughts do you have on the National Football League card that you would like to share with us this week? Thought or game?
Well, there are a lot of interesting games. Jim touched upon Green Bay and the Giants, and I can understand some. I don't know how to read the thing with the Giants because the team is a mess right now. They're without their best wide receiver and without their best rookie, the rookie running back Scadaboo. And Green Bay is in a desperate situation. After 5, after 5 games or 6 games, I think they were 5-1-1. After seven games, maybe 5-1-1. They had the number 1 seed in the NFC. And now they are in their own division. They're sitting 3rd behind both Chicago and Detroit. So this is a very important, and they have Detroit in the rematch, who beat in Green Bay to open the season, coming up in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day. This is a critical game for the Green Bay Packers if they have any hopes of making the playoffs. Again, let's take a look at the wild card scenario if they don't win the division. Okay, and I'm going to say right now they won't, because Detroit is playing the way that we expected them to play, and if they remain relatively healthy, you got three teams battling in the NFC West. San Francisco. Let's give the division to the Rams. San Francisco, Seattle, both in situation for a wild card. You got Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, and now Chicago. Four teams in the North battling for any number of playoff spots where only the division winner may get in there. Although I think it'll be at least two teams. In the South, Tampa Bay's probably going to win it. Atlanta is fading. Carolina's not good enough. And in the East, you've got Philadelphia probably as the only team that can make it in that division, with the demise of Washington and the defense of Dallas in there and the Giants in situation. So Green Bay has to look as though every game now is important. Question is, as Jim pointed out, can they score? I'm not so sure. That's an intriguing game. And another similar intriguing game is Buffalo and Tampa Bay, where you've got Buffalo, now coming off of a loss last week after the game against Kansas City before, and Tampa Bay was in I love Tampa Bay last week. They were in the perfect spot. New England was coming off of 2 home games. Tampa Bay was coming off of its bye week. They had plenty of time to prepare. And I think that touchdown that New England got right at the end of the first half totally changed the complexion of the game, and Tampa Bay was a shell of itself in the second half. So I find both of those games interesting. Buffalo is in a situation where they continue to need, and we'll find out if they fall another half game behind the Patriots, with the Patriots likely to win tonight. So it becomes an important game. But when we're talking about the point spread, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay is a bit more competitive than they've been in their last 2 games. So I want to see if this line in Buffalo goes up 6 or 6.5.
Andy, I just got word that the ITS police have zeroed in on the Tampa Bay Bucks, and they're hauling them off to jail. The ITS police, the in the stats police, have been outyarded 5 straight games in a row now.
Yep.
It tells me that there's something not right with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Their record, I think, is a lot better than
a lot of it. I think is Bucky Williams is
missed. Called injuries.
Yeah.
They got a ton of injuries.
Yeah, wide receiver and running back.
Yeah.
Greg DePalma, your thoughts on this National Football League card? Anything intriguing or catches your eye this week?
Well, I was, you might have noticed I was out for a couple of minutes. That's because I had to answer the door. And I had just gotten my new shirts in. Look at this. This is my new shirts. I just got in. Look at this beautiful thing. Look at this. Look at that beautiful shirt that I'll be wearing real soon. Nice little collared jet shirt. Look at that.
Oh no.
How much did they pay you to take the shirt?
Look at this.
You should not have answered the door, Greg.
Look at this. Oh man, these are really nice. Oh, this is nice.
That's a nice one. That's really nice.
I can't imagine anybody wearing that.
Look at that. I'm going to be sporting these on Proline TV real soon.
Wait a minute. We want to get more members, not fewer.
Yeah.
Well, wear them on the New York Jets' next primetime game, if you will, Greg. Okay.
What's that?
I hope they're on
the next primetime game. Break it down.
Yeah. Greg. A game this week that
he can't wait till 2028.
Look, I mean, I think obviously the one that there's 2 that are really considered game of the year type games, and that's Seattle Rams and Detroit Philly. So I think those are clearly the 2 games that are going to be the ones to watch. And I tell you, I do feel good about taking Detroit against Philly, just because, Detroit, again, they've got all those great numbers that work for them, including right now, they're still on a 19-2 run against the spread off of a double-digit ATS win. That's a pretty impressive number. And then they might get a little healthier this week too. Keep an eye on the fact that DJ Reed is practicing again, and also edge rusher Marcus Davenport. So that's good news. And maybe it'll help too, because look, I don't think it's going to be affected in this game. I think if this would have been like Philly and Atlanta or Philly and New Orleans, then this trend, I think, would have made sense to use. The Eagles are 0-9-1 against the spread before they take on the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think that matters this week because of the Sunday night tilt with Detroit. But that Seattle Ram game, that one, I have no call. I don't know how anybody can just say, you know what, I really love the Rams this week, or I really love the Seahawks this week. If somebody could say that, I'd need to listen to and find out what it is.
There are a few teams in this league, maybe as many as 5 or 6. Anytime they take the field, they can win any game. Philly and Detroit are 2 of them. The Rams and Seattle are very, very close. In situations like that, especially when there are points involved, I'll generally look to the underdog because it's almost a toss-up as to Detroit can win any game it takes the field. Kansas City probably would be in there. Buffalo, you would think, would be in there despite their recent play. But certainly I would say Detroit and Philadelphia are 2 of the teams that can win any game that they play. Kansas City, based on their experience and the way they've been playing lately, is another team. And well, Seattle's been really good this year. The Rams have been good for the last half decade, so maybe you throw them in there as well.
Those are anti-Super Bowl contenders. They have to be because they're the teams that he logically feels are playing the best football in the national.
And have been playing for the last few years. I mean, Detroit and Philly go back 3-4 years of being up there. Kansas City goes back further than that, and the Rams, they've been in 2 or 3 Super Bowls over since McVay has been there.
Well, guys, the comment on the NFL card this week I want to hit on is the possibility, and it's becoming a realistic possibility, that the Super Bowl in San Francisco this year might just feature a pair of teams from California. The LA
I hope so.
The Rams and the Chargers. They're both playing some really, really good football now. And listen to these numbers here for the Rams. The 2 teams combined, the Rams are 7-2, Chargers are 7-3. That's pretty nice numbers. Rams, in the stats, they've out-yarded 7 of their 9 opponents. The Chargers won the yards 9 of their 10 opponents. Those are really well-deserved victories that they have this football season here. There's nothing coming by fluke or chance for either of these 2 football teams. And if it happens, don't be surprised if they continue this type of work to see the Rams and the Chargers in the Super Bowl this year. Jim, I know
I'd love it. I would love that, by the way, with tickets on the exact is in the range of about 300 to 1 on Chargers over Rams and Rams over Chargers.
Jim, do you have the Rams in the Super Bowl?
I had the Rams in the championship game, and I had them playing the Buccaneers.
Okay.
But the Buccaneers have never gotten healthy, so I don't think
that may derail things, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Stafford's back is always a concern.
And I don't remember who I picked from the AFC, honestly. But I don't recall that back in the day, back in the summer when we did that. But matter of fact, the AFC, I don't see any AFC team that really impresses me. I'm very down on the AFC quality. And but the NFC is loaded with some pretty good play. Better teams, much better teams.
Well, I would, I'm on that list I mentioned about the teams that are in the top 10 offensively and defensively in the National Football League this year. 4 of them are from the AFC. Surprisingly, New England, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and that's the Lions. So those 3, Kansas City, the Chargers, and New England from the AFC on the 5.
Do you or anyone consider the Patriots a team that has a realistic chance at winning the Super Bowl, or are they maybe a year away once you start getting into the playoffs and you're playing basically equals?
It's hard for a team to come out of nowhere and go that far without suffering
continuously. Yeah, continue the assault all the way.
The reason I don't step up and say much about the Chargers is their offensive line is pathetic. And Herbert is getting absolutely murdered every week. Now, he's tremendous, and Harbaugh is tremendous, but they have no offensive line. It's so – I don't see how they can keep going under that kind of pressure.
Well, it's got to be head coaching and quarterback play.
Chargers quarterbacks, which is basically Herbert, average being sacked 3.4 times per game. That's a lot.
Yes, it is.
That's an average. That's a season total of close to 60.
Yeah, that's eventually you're going to get hurt.
Well, it looks to me like we've much about covered the National Football League this week here on this portion of the show. And I want to remind everybody here once again to go to the ProLine TV channel and hit the community page. Sign up and register. All these premier selections are going to be available from Jim Feist, yours truly, Marc Lawrence, and our cast of experts at a giveaway dirt cheap price, something that's going to be the best buy you'll find this football season. Be sure to check it out now because we're going to start loading up picks here beginning this particular weekend. Jim, I'm going to let you go unless you got anything else you want to talk about on the NFL card this week.
I mean, I love the card. I really do. I think this is well, first of all, we're in the second half of the season. We now know a lot more about the teams. The games are more meaningful. We keep talking about, oh, they need this game and they don't need. Well, in the beginning of the season, you don't talk like that because it's too new. And now wins and losses mean more because you're up against it. So it's much more fun to handicap these kind of games. What's not fun is dealing with all these damn injuries because you're playing with all these backup people and you just don't know what they're going to produce. So that's a problem. But I enjoy this time of year.
Well, as we all do, Jim, I'm going to wish you nothing but the best of luck on the NFL card this week. And I know that's your specialty, Jim Feist, National Football League specialist. Check out everything he's doing on the Proline TV channel for all of his premier picks this particular week. Jim, I'll catch up with you down the road and wish you nothing but the best of luck this week, okay?
You too. All you
Good
guys.
luck, Jim.
Thank you, bud.
All the people out.
That's Jim Feist joining us, the legend from Las Vegas here on Marc Lawrence Against the Spread. With that, let's move things over to the college football side of things. And, things are beginning to warm up a little bit in college football. All the weather's getting colder. Things are warming up because the college football playoff rankings are now in effect. And all of a sudden, the race is on, if you will, for these 12 slots, these 12 particular slots. Andy, did anything in this new ranking, this particular catch you by surprise, or any comment or thought of what you saw in the top 12 teams ranked this week?
Well, I continue to be disappointed that there are so many SEC teams listed in there. And, of course, who we got, Greg's rolling it down now. They did not put in the top 12, or at least I didn't see in the top 12, the like South Florida, yeah, or South Florida, yeah, exactly. And I think that for this to have any sort of significance, pick one of those teams. Put them in there because you're going to have because two of the teams listed right now won't be able to be in there. At least be a little bit more towards realism.
Well, they will, Andy. If it finished the way it is now, BYU's number 12, they'd be out, and in their place would be USF, South Florida,
and so would Oklahoma be out. Because the ACC isn't in there either. So,
they're only going to take one group of 5.
No, I was talking about the ACC and who's not in there. Is there there's no ACC in that top 12? Is there?
It's a top 10 right now.
Yeah.
So like you said, Andy, the 11 and 12 teams do not really count. It just gives you basically a barometer, though. So these teams like Oklahoma and BYU have to realize, hey, if I'm at 11 and 12, and I'm sure I
got to start winning. Yeah,
it means we're out. So
it's a big game this week between Oklahoma and Alabama.
There's a lot of big games coming up, and this is what's
Oklahoma embarrassed Alabama last year.
Yeah, the only question I have with that, even though I still like Alabama,
as do I,
because they've been so dominant as a home favorite, is the only thing we don't know about that loss.
They don't run the ball, Alabama, this year very well.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's just a bad matchup for them because they have got a good defense. Oklahoma, they stuffed them last year, and so sometimes, as we all know, some matchups just aren't good for you. And maybe that's why that line has gone down, but I'm happy the line's gone down because it means I don't have to give as many points by taking Alabama.
I'm the same way. And I also like this game with those two defenses and Alabama's, let's call it one-dimensional offense. I like this game under.
I don't know if you guys saw the coffee club today. It went out late. It usually goes out in the morning, but we worked real long on the newsletter last night. So we delivered it at noon today instead of 6 a.m. And I don't know if either of you two have had a chance to see it this week, or today, I should say. But there was a spot in there about the Alabama Crimson Tide and what Kalen DeBoer has done, this trend that he's got going where he's 16-0 with Alabama in this particular role. The particular role happens to be when he wears his black hoodie. Alabama is 16-0 since he's been there when he wears his black hoodie. So if it's a story right now, it's going to be a story, especially when the SEC gets to the championship game and they make the playoffs. You're going to see Kalen DeBoer in nothing but black. I can assure you that.
Mark, I think you ought to send a copy of the playbook to the Alabama coaching staff, to Paul Feinbaum, and highlight the Alabama write-up, and they will know who to play this week.
Yeah, exactly.
With some confidence.
Yes, with a lot of
quote unquote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you're tuned in to Marc Lawrence Against the Spread, the nation's most popular sports handicapping talk show. And let's do that, guys. Let's get into, if we will, the college football game, particular game that caught your interest this particular week, or any other situation. Greg DePalma, what jumped off the page for you in the world of college football?
Well, I think more than anything, the games that really matter for making the playoffs, winning conference championships, and there are a bunch of those. The ones that stick out the most, you've got the obvious ones, of course, is Alabama playing Oklahoma and Georgia playing Texas. The losers are done. Unless, look, if Oklahoma loses, Texas loses, they're done. So they're desperate for a win. But they're the dogs going up against Georgia and Alabama. And Alabama and Georgia could take care of business by getting rid of those two teams. And I think they will, actually. I think Texas and Oklahoma will be knocked out because, in honesty, in my mind, they're still Big 12 teams. They're not SEC teams. But what interests me the most are those group of five situations, because my South Florida Bulls made it back to the top thanks to Tulane's upset win over Memphis last week. And now you have a situation where you've got a lot of teams in the AAC, the American, with just one loss. And we've got some action this week with Memphis taking on East Carolina. And that's going to be very important. South Florida taking on Navy. So you got 4 of the 6 one-loss teams in the conference playing each other. So that's also going to make things interesting. And the key game that I'm really zeroing in on is that Memphis game. I like Memphis. They're a 3-point dog against East Carolina. And if you look at it, as great as a job as this coach has done, Blake Carroll for East Carolina, since he took over as the interim coach last year, the fact is that they haven't beaten anybody since he's taken over. They've just taken care of business against all the bad teams. But whenever he played the good teams, they lose. And they're playing a good team this week, and they're the favorite. So that's why I'm taking Memphis. I think Memphis even proved last week in the loss to Tulane. They were down like 3 scores. They came back. They got the ball with a chance to win the game. They just couldn't get the comeback finish. And that shows you that they got talent. They got resiliency. And I think they're a better team than East Carolina. And that's why I like them in that match.
Doesn't Memphis have 2 conference losses?
Yeah. Yes.
And the others have East Carolina, and the others have 1.
Correct.
So this is a huge game for Memphis, because if they lose, there's no way they get to play in the championship game.
Yeah, they're done, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, Memphis definitely needs the win. And their last game of the season is going up against Navy. And if you look at it, here's even a stat that just shows everything I'm talking about. East Carolina has lost 9 straight games versus an opponent with a winning record. Okay, not winning record. I'm not even talking about very good teams. All you have to do is have a winning record, and they have it, and they're the favorite.
Does that include games where they're facing a team in week 2 that's 1-0?
Yes,
and ends up but that 1-0 team could end up finishing 3-9.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It's 9, so they're not getting away with that with 9 of them. So
I'm just saying. I'm saying that 1-0 team when they face them, they're facing a winning team, but in reality, in other words, I'd like to see a stat. Teams. Yeah, but I'm saying though, I'd like to see. I'd like to see.
Give you some.
Oh no, I'm talking about something totally different. Totally different.
North Carolina State by 7. They lost to Tulane by 7. They lost to BYU by 21. Those are 3 winning teams that are the best teams on their schedule, and they lost to all of them.
And they were winning teams when they played.
And they're winning teams now.
Okay. Well, yes, but what I'm saying is I'd much rather see what the results are when a team loses to a winning team after, say, the 5th game of the season, because you've had at least an idea that team is a winning team and not a losing team. In other words, I don't place any stock in a win against a team that's 1-0.
But if that's 3, I can look at that. But when you got 9 of them, I'm willing to give you even 2 or 3 of those. because there's not going to be many of them. There's only been 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So you can only say that. So even if they've lost 5 straight against quality winning teams, because the fact of the matter is they just haven't. All you got to do is take a look at their schedule for the last couple of years yourself and see. Just haven't beaten anybody quality. I think their best win was actually, I don't even. I think they beat North Carolina State. North Carolina State must have been a 500 team in the bowl last year when they won that game.
No,
because that was their best win. That was a really fun game. It was a quality win, but again, it was a team with a 500 record.
Well, Andy, what catches your attention this week in college football? I know.
I'm going to go to a game that I actually initially liked the other side, and then I did a lot more work, and I'm on the side that is now the side, and it's a game. And I think you and I were both right on this team last week in going against them, and I think if I remember, you're on the same side this week, and that's Virginia.
Yes.
I think we were both against Virginia last week, taking the points with Wake Forest, and part of it had to do with the situation that they were in as far as that goes. Now they're playing Duke, who also I think we both went against with UConn last week. I don't know that I expected UConn to win the game, but I certainly expected them to cover the generous points. In fact, it was bet down, I think, from 9.5 to 7.5. And now Virginia is playing Duke. And Duke is about a 6.5 point favorite, I believe.
Yes. It's down to 4 now.
4?
Okay. Well, here's why. I think people still went to Mark. I think they went to the your playbook or the stat and log book and saw that Virginia is 8-1 straight up and against the spread versus Duke over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Again, that's one of those. And sometimes you wonder, well, what does that mean? To me, it means Virginia's done a better job of recruiting than Duke has, at least when they come head to head, as far as you match that up, because you shouldn't see that one side of his. Neither Duke nor Virginia have been outstanding teams over the last decade. Duke had a number of winning seasons, as did Virginia, but 8-1 is pretty strong. But I like this Virginia team. And again, remember, and I think the committee would like to see Duke win, because I think they don't like the fact that Virginia's loss to NC State does not count as an ACC game this year. So I think that might be it. But I think on the fundamentals and on the matchups and on the history, no reason Virginia can't win this game outright, much less cover what's now 4.5 and what was as high as 6.5.
I agree with you, Andy. This is a Virginia team that while they have holes, and I was all ready to snap rubber bands fading them earlier, now they're beginning to make sense. And when I'm saying making sense is just look at their body of work. They played in 6 one-score games this year. They come off of a loss last week against Wake Forest, which was a lot more Virginia than it was Wake Forest. What I'm saying that is Virginia actually won the yardage 124 yards in the football game and held them to 203 yards. So they're playing some really good football right now, is Virginia, in this football contest. And I think Duke is a real phony football team. They've been exposed. They were exposed last week against UConn. They laid a touchdown to UConn and lost the game. They've lost the yards 2 weeks in a row. I think you have a real nice side there in Virginia, Andy.
Yeah, the real reason that the line went down was because, and the real reason that Virginia lost to Wake Forest last week had to do with their quarterback going down in the first half. So Chandler Morris, who's the best player they have on the team, gets hurt early, and their offense, they bring in this young quarterback. He fumbled the ball twice. He had no touchdowns, no interceptions, and they couldn't muster any offense at all. And so there was word as early as Monday, because I did the show with Ken Thompson from Las Vegas on his show on Monday.
Yes.
And I pointed
You were
it
very
out.
good, by the way. You were very good on that show. I caught it. Yeah,
thank you.
Listen to Ken all the time.
So I pointed out to him. He asked me to give him a game, and I said, well, I'll give you Virginia, because they were 6 points at the time. And I said, you know what? I already looked at it, and it looks like to me that Chandler Morris will play based on what I heard on Monday. And sure enough, 24 hours later, the line went down to 4, and the word was Chandler Morris was going to start this week more than likely. That's why the line went down. And I'm fine with that, because even with Chandler Morris, I still think the game should be a pick 'em, or maybe one Duke, because they're a home team. I don't think Duke should be favored even by 4, just because I don't see any reason for that, especially Duke's got no defense at all. And I just, you saw it last week. I mean, Connecticut had almost 40 points on Duke. So yeah, I think we're all in agreement there with Virginia being a pretty good dog at this point, because we're getting 4 points. I mean, heck, Virginia, with all these close games they're in, if for some way they happen to lose another close game, we're still getting 4 points.
And I think the three of us think that they can win this game, and probably we'll have some money line action as part of the play.
I think they will win this week. Yes, I'm going for the win. Yes.
All right, guys, I'm going to settle in on a team that a lot of people might have a hard time swallowing. I won't. And I'm going to fading a team that's really, really in total disarray right now. And I think they're favored for name and reputation alone in the football game. I'm going to look at Arkansas and take the points against LSU this particular week. And I know Arkansas is not going anywhere. They've got an interim head coach who is despicable as a human being in my eyes. He's a human creep in Bobby Petrino.
And he hasn't won a game yet.
No, he hasn't won a game yet, but he does have a
and he's won, and he's a former Arkansas coach who didn't have success back then.
There you go. But they're not. At least they have somebody behind the wheel there. I think the firing of Sam Pittman was ridiculous. That was all the fans forcing the school to fire the guy. He improved the football program eons from what it was he inherited, but that's another story for another day. Look at the LSU and what's happened to this football team since Kelly has been fired. The last 3 football games they played, they're 0-3 straight up against the spread and in the stats. They're losing the stats well over 100 yards in each of those 3 football games. This is a total distraction game for LSU and all this crap that's going on around Kelly and wanting his money in the school, wanting to hold it back and all that stuff.
Wasn't he fired after the A&M game? So the game last week against Bama was actually their first game following the A&M firing when they got embarrassed after they lost to Vanderbilt the week before.
He was fired after the Vanderbilt game, right?
I thought it was the A&M game the next day when they lost 42-10 or something like that.
It was the A&M. It was it was their previous game before the game
it was Vanderbilt.
last week.
That
was the first game with the interim coach.
Yeah. They lost to Vanderbilt, and then they lost, yeah.
An interim coach is terrible, by the way. The interim coach was fired from Texas San Antonio after being there for 4 years and doing nothing. And then Traylor takes over, and the rest is history. And he also has a terrible record as a head coach at FCS. So you've got that guy running LSU. They couldn't win with Brian Kelly. They're going to win with this guy. So I'm with you. I'm going
to share with our people out there the main ingredient in what I'm seeing in this game, and it comes from our Playbook newsletter this week, and it's our awesome angle. And it's an awesome angle that I've relied on heavily in the past years, and it's this. In football, revenge matters when it's meaningful. If you beat me to a pulp 12 years in a row, it's not revenge. It's just domination. Yeah, exactly. Okay. But if you find a series, a rivalry, a conference matchup or whatnot, where you beat me 3 years in a row, exactly, that's meaningful. That's called triple.
That means in many cases the senior class has never won a game against that opponent,
exactly where I was
and all the underclassmen obviously as well.
Right. So you got people that are in the senior class that are going to bow out without a win against this team. You're not in the domination with that school yet. So you usually get their best effort when they are playing with triple revenge exact, which is exactly what Arkansas is doing in this particular game here. Now, the angle reads this particular way. This really, really shines in the Southeast Conference where you have good quality teams that play a good brand of football. Any Southeast Conference team that has that triple revenge exact, and if they scored 33 or more points in their last game, and the opponent they're playing lost straight up and against the spread the previous game. Those teams are 14-1 against the spread in this particular role. That's on Arkansas. And by the way, it's also on Ole Miss this week. I don't think people realize that. But there's Arkansas in this particular role, what I call the rule of 3 role here for Arkansas here. I think Arkansas can take LSU out straight up on the field.
Oh, and by the way, guess which of those 2 teams is coming off a bye week?
Which of those 2 teams?
Arkansas.
The Hog. Yeah, the Hog.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That just adds to it.
Yes, it does.
You got extra preparation time against a team that you will have hated for 14 straight days.
Exactly right.
Arkansas 17-7 against the spread in their last 24 as a road dog. And don't forget, this is a team that has continuously proven that they're a good team, but they can't close games out. They've outgained 4 of 5 SEC opponents this season, including Texas A&M. Yep. And they have lost, obviously, all of those games because they can't close the deal, whether it's turnovers or they lost that game when they had the big lead against Mississippi State late. But here, at least you're in a situation where you're the dog and you're getting almost 2-1 on the money line. And I think they're in a much better position where you go, okay, if I'm going to bet Arkansas, this is the perfect week to do it because I'm putting all my money on the money line. I'm not even wasting it with the 6 points.
Well, this is a real hidden money line play, Greg. You got a 2-win team that's out-yarded 7 of their 9 opponents this year. And
they have yet to win a conference game, so that's a big additional motivation as well.
Exactly right. So I think this is a real hidden upset play on the football card this particular week in Arkansas. In a bad spot here for what I would say is LSU happens to be in this particular week.
And I wonder what LSU is going to do with their quarterback situation because we're in a new time where we all know when the season ends, like let's just say this is LSU's situation. All right, season ends. They're not going to the playoffs, but they're going to a bowl. What does Garrett Nussmeier do? We all know what he's going to do. He's not going to play the bowl game. Exactly. So we've got a couple of games left for the end of the season, and then Garrett Nussmeier is going to call it a career, and he's going to head to the NFL. Why then would you play him? You've got this young quarterback, Michael Van Buren, who this interim coach, by the way, played in the game last week against Alabama. He sat Nussmeier to play the young kid, and I think he should just play the young kid. Because Nussmeier wouldn't do him any favors anyway. So I would just let Nussmeier sit, play Michael Van Buren, who's got some talent as a young
And
player.
by the way, playing him gives Van Buren more of a reason to not enter the transfer portal.
That would be true too. Correct. So yes, I see no reason except if the interim coach feels he's got a better chance to win with Nussmeier and he wants to pad his weak winning percentage. That's it. There's no other reason I could see that.
I think they're 5-4. They'll make a bowl game if they want. Although I think they may have already said they're going to turn it down because they do host Western Kentucky next week.
Yeah, they probably will. Just like if Penn State were to get there, I'm sure they're not going to go to a bowl either. So.
Well, guys, that's a pretty good show we put together here this particular week. Really a great time of the year, college football being right where it is. We're a couple of weeks away from the conference championship games and then ultimately the college football playoffs. National Football League rounding the corner, if you will, heading into the second half of the football season. And again, I want to remind everybody to go to the ProLine TV YouTube page and register, subscribe, okay? Because on there, you'll be able to access all the quality premium executive plays from yours truly, Jim Feist, Andy Iskoe, Greg DePalma, at a giveaway price. It's just absolutely unbelievable. Check it out when you go there, subscribe on that particular page, and you'll be notified about all of what's going on. Guys, great show again. Once again this week, I want to remind everybody out there, until next week, once again, this is Marc Lawrence. Remind you to always remember to bet with your head, not over it, and good luck as always.